Have you ever noticed something strange? In a world where everyone is talking, posting, broadcasting their every move, it's often the quietest person in the room who holds the most power. We live in an age of oversharing. People announce their goals before they've begun. They talk about what they're going to do rather than actually doing it. We're told, speak up, be visible, let the world know who you are. But here's what I've discovered, a truth that changed how I approach everything in life. Silence is power. Not the silence of fear or hesitation, but the kind of silence that comes from knowing who you are and not needing to prove it. In the next few minutes, I'll show you why those who speak less often earn more respect, how strategic silence can shift power in any room, and why the most successful people rarely explain themselves. This isn't just about talking less. It's about reclaiming your energy, guarding your mission, and letting your results speak for themselves. If you've ever felt tired of explaining, tired of trying to be heard over the noise, this message is for you. You don't need to shout. You don't need to post every step. You just need to move in silence and let your presence speak louder than your words. Let's begin. 1. Silence is not weakness. It's a strategic advantage. Most people misunderstand silence. They assume that if you're not speaking, you must not have anything to say. That if you're not talking, you're not thinking. But that assumption? It's exactly why silence works. In a world that rewards noise, those who choose silence often get misjudged. Not because they're wrong, but because they're rare. You see, there's a subtle truth no one tells you. The ones who talk the most are usually trying to be noticed. The ones who stay quiet, they already know their worth. Think about the loudest person in your office, the one who dominates every meeting, fills every silence, always has an answer, even when no one asked. Now think about the quietest person in the room, the one who listens, observes, maybe takes a few notes. And when they finally speak, everyone listens. That's not weakness. That's control. Look at high performers across any field: CEOs, military leaders, elite athletes, investors. The truly powerful ones, they don't talk about what they're going to do. They just do it. They let performance speak. They let results speak. Because they understand something most people don't. Silence isn't the absence of thought. It's the presence of focus. But here's the trap many people fall into. They speak just to fill the gap. They share because they're afraid of being overlooked. They explain, defend, overshare. Not because they need to, but because they're uncomfortable with being misunderstood. Truth is, silence often feels threatening, not to the person practicing it, but to the people watching it. We're conditioned to expect constant feedback, constant noise, so when someone chooses stillness over reaction, we start to project our own insecurity onto them. But here's the shift. Silence isn't retreat. It's positioning. It's not about hiding. It's about choosing your moment. It's about conserving your energy, protecting your strategy, and moving when it actually matters. The person who holds back, who doesn't rush to prove themselves, that person is not weak. They're simply not playing the game on your terms. So here's the simple lesson. Silence is not something to escape. It's something to master. In a loud world, choosing not to speak right away is not hesitation. It's a decision, a sign that you're in control of yourself. And that's the first step to controlling the room. Now, if silence really is a form of strength, what makes it so magnetic? Why are we drawn to the ones who reveal the least but seem to command the most respect? Let's talk about the power of mystery. 2. The magnetism of mystery. why you don't need to be an open book. In a world addicted to exposure, mystery is a superpower. Every day we're told to share more, post more, be transparent. But here's the quiet truth. When you reveal less, people lean in more. Picture this. Two people walk into the same room. The first talks nonstop. Plans, opinions, numbers, the whole playbook. The second listens, asks a few precise questions, smiles, and says very little. By the end of the night, who are you more curious about? Exactly. We're wired that way. Humans dislike empty spaces and stories. When information is missing, our minds fill the blanks. And most of the time, we fill them with something bigger, better, more impressive than reality. That's the quiet magic of mystery. It lets curiosity do the heavy lifting for you. Think about the best product reveals you've ever seen. The stage lights, the hush, the famous black turtleneck. Steve Jobs didn't drip details for months. He created an event, a sense that something important was coming. That secrecy generated energy, anticipation, respect. People didn't just watch, they waited. Now compare that to the oversharer, the person who narrates every draft, every meeting, every half-baked idea. When you talk too much, you become predictable. Predictable is easy to challenge, easy to copy, easy to manipulate. But when you keep your plans close, you're hard to read. And that's magnetic. People can't preempt what they can't predict. Mystery isn't about playing games. It's about control. Control over timing, control over framing, control over your emotional energy. When you decide what to reveal and when, you keep the leverage on your side. Let's ground this in real life. At work, share your outcomes, not your play-by-play. I'm refining something important. I'll show you when it's ready. Short, calm, respectful, powerful. In your circle, offer headlines, not blueprints. I'm working on a health goal this quarter. You don't owe anyone macros, schedules, or daily updates. Online, post the finished chapter, not every sentence you're still editing. Results first. Explanations later, if at all. Here's a common mistake to watch for. Talking to fill the silence because you're afraid people will think you're weak. That urge is normal and costly. When you rush to explain, you give away positioning. When you hold your ground, you earn it. Mini lesson. Let others ask the questions. If they're wondering, you're winning. Answer with clarity but economy. Give context, not your coordinates. Because the moment you stop broadcasting every move, your influence grows in the dark. Quietly, steadily, on your terms. Mystery does not mean isolation. It means intentional access. You can be warm, kind, and open-hearted, while staying selective with the details that protect your mission. That balance is where authority is born. If mystery pulls people in, how do you build it day to day? You stop announcing, and you start executing. Let's talk about why moving in silence creates results that speak louder than any promise. Third stop. Announcing. Start executing. There's a trap almost everyone falls into. We talk about what we're going to do before we do it. We share the plan, the title, the big announcement, long before the work is real. And for a moment, it feels good. People like the post. They cheer us on. Our brain gets a little hit of satisfaction, as if the job were already finished. That's the problem. When praise arrives too early, motivation arrives too late. We confuse talking with doing. We mistake attention for progress. And the project we cared about starts to lose heat, quietly, slowly, until it cools to nothing. Psychologists have a name for this. When we broadcast our goals, our identity shifts just enough to trick us. We feel closer to the outcome, simply because others now see us that way. In short, goal sharing can decrease execution. Not always, not for everyone, but often enough to be dangerous. So what do high performers do instead? Look at elite athletes. They don't announce every new drill, every training block, every private milestone. They train when the gym is empty. They keep their focus off the cameras and on the craft. Then, when the lights are on and the clock is running, they show up. No speeches, no previews, just performance. The same principle works in business, art, and personal goals. When you move in silence, you protect the fragile early stage. You stay flexible. You experiment without pressure. You change direction without having to explain yourself to an audience you never needed in the first place. Here's a simple picture. Two creators start a project on the same day. The first posts a countdown, shares mock-ups, collects compliments. The second says nothing, builds quietly, tests, fails, refines. 30 days later, the first has a thread of promises. The second has a finished product. Which one do you remember? Silence is not about hiding. It's about conserving momentum. It's about keeping your energy where it belongs, inside the work, not inside the comment section. If you feel the urge to announce, pause. Ask yourself a gentle question. Do I want encouragement right now or results later? Both feel good. Only one moves the needle. Here's a practical shift you can make today. Replace public promises with private checkpoints. Pick a date. Pick a deliverable. When you hit it, then share the outcome. Not the intention, the outcome. You'll notice something powerful. The applause lands after the work, not before it. And that's the kind that fuels the next step instead of stealing it. Mini lesson. Talk less about the path. Do more on the path. Silence multiplies impact because no one sees it coming. When the result arrives without a warning label, it cuts through the noise. It doesn't need convincing. It just is. So if you're tired of feeling stuck, try this for 1 week. No public announcements. No play-by-plays. Make a list. Do the work. Reveal only what's finished. Watch how your focus sharpens. Watch how your momentum builds. And while you're doing that, there's another resource you need to protect. Not just your time, your emotional energy. In the next part, we'll talk about how to guard it like gold, so you can keep building without getting drained. 4. Guard your emotional energy, like it's gold. Every explanation, every argument, every overshare costs you. You don't always see the bill right away, but you feel it later, when your focus is thin, your patience is short, and your work has no spark left. Here's the common trap. We try to please everyone. We answer every question. We defend every choice. We share details no one needs, just to avoid being misunderstood. It feels polite. It feels responsible. But slowly, it empties the tank. Think of emotional energy like money. If you don't track it, you spend it on impulse. If you try to buy everyone's approval, you go broke. People who don't control their emotional spending end up the same way people do with finances. Sooner or later, they hit bankruptcy. Not of dollars, but of drive. Let's make this real. At work, a teammate asks for a quick update. You hand over your blueprint. Now you're juggling their opinions, their doubts, their timelines, and your original momentum is gone. With friends or family, someone pushes for details about your next move. You explain. You justify. They give advice you didn't ask for. You spend the night defending a plan that was fine until you started defending it. Online, you share a progress post for encouragement. The comments pour in. Some cheer, some critique, some compare. You wake up the next day building for the crowd instead of building for the goal. It's not that people are bad, it's that access is expensive. So here's the shift. Limit who gets access to your mission. Not everyone needs the map. Most only need the mile marker. Create 3 simple circles. Inner circle, 2 to 3 people. The ones who know the whole story. They have earned your trust. They protect your energy, not drain it. Working circle, a few collaborators. They see what they need to execute. No gossip, no play-by-play. Just the parts that help them do great work. Public circle, everyone else. They see results when they're ready. Headlines, not blueprints. Outcomes, not intentions. And give yourself permission to use clean, calm boundaries. I'm still shaping it. I'll share when it's solid. I don't have an update yet, but you'll see the outcome. I appreciate the interest. I'm keeping this one tight for now. These aren't walls. They're filters, so your energy can flow where it matters most. Here's another helpful habit. Before you speak, run your words through 3 gates. 1. Is it necessary? 2. Is it helpful right now? 3. Was it requested? If it doesn't clear the gates, keep it. Silence is not withholding love or connection. It's choosing stewardship over leakage. Remember, every sentence you spend defending your ego is a sentence you didn't spend building your future. Every debate you enter to prove a point is a rep you didn't put into your craft. Energy is finite. Direction is everything. Mini lesson. Use your energy to build, not to defend. Protect your plans until they're strong enough to stand on their own. Share with intention. Let curiosity work for you, not against you. You'll notice the difference fast. With fewer explanations, your mind gets quiet. With fewer arguments, your pace returns. With fewer eyes on your early steps, your courage grows. This is how you move from performing for approval to producing with purpose. And once you've protected that energy, something powerful happens. You won't need to talk your way into respect. Your work will walk in and earn it for you. Next, let's explore why letting results speak is the loudest voice you'll ever need. 5. Let the results speak. The loudest voice is proof. You don't need to argue when the scoreboard is on your side. In every field, there are talkers and there are builders. Talkers debate. Builders deliver. Talkers look for agreement. Builders look for outcomes. And when the outcome is undeniable, the debate goes quiet on its own. Think about Kobe Bryant. He didn't need long speeches about work ethic. He showed it day after day when the arena was empty. Early mornings, extra reps, film study when everyone else went home. No fanfare, no countdowns, no look at me. Then the lights came on, and the work spoke. That's the point. Results do the talking you'll never have to do. Now compare 2 patterns you see everywhere. The first pattern, the over-explainer. Always announcing, always persuading. They need you to believe before they've produced. It's exhausting. For them, and for everyone listening. The second pattern, the quiet producer. They say less. They promise less. They invest the time in the craft, not the performance. When the moment comes, they deliver. Clean, clear, finished. No pitch required. Here's the psychology underneath it. When someone flexes constantly, they're often selling potential, not proof. It's a substitute for substance, a way to borrow status before it's earned. But the more you flex, the more you signal that the work isn't ready to stand alone. Real achievement doesn't beg for attention, it attracts it. This is why results are the most efficient voice you have. Results cut through opinion. Results quiet resistance. Results remove the need for long explanations because people don't argue with what they can see. Let's make it practical. At work, don't promise 10 features. Ship one flawless feature on time. In fitness, don't post day one. Post the before and after when it's real. In business, don't sell the roadmap. Share the case study. When you lead with proof, you protect your energy. You protect your credibility. You protect your momentum. Because once the work is visible, the room changes. Questions become curiosity. Doubt becomes interest. And respect arrives without you having to ask for it. If you've ever felt stuck arguing, try this shift for the next project. Stop rehearsing your defense. Start rehearsing your delivery. Replace, "Here's what I'm going to do," with "Here it is." You'll be surprised how fast the noise fades when the evidence appears. Mini lesson: talkers seek validation. Builders create validation. If you truly have value, your silence will carry farther than any pitch. Let the product, the performance, the visible change do what words can't. And here's the quiet bonus. When you let results speak, you control the conversation without having to control people. Proof frames the story for you. So how do you keep that control day after day without burning out or oversharing? You master what you reveal, and when you reveal it. Next, control the narrative by controlling what you reveal. 6. Control the narrative by controlling what you reveal. Every time you speak, you risk losing control of your story. Not because your story isn't true, but because once your words leave your mouth, they live in other people's minds. And other people add their filters, their fears, their agendas. Here's the core principle. You can't control what others say about you. You can control what you release. What you say, when you say it, and how much you choose to share. Think about how this plays out. At work, you share a plan early because you're excited. By the end of the week, 3 versions of your plan are floating around. One is watered down, one is misunderstood, and one has quietly empowered a competitor to beat you to the punch. In business, you tease a new product too soon. A rival pivots, speeds up, and crowds your launch window. Your "coming soon" becomes their "available now." In your circle, you open up about a goal before it's stable. Friends mean well, but opinions multiply. Your idea gets reframed, retold, and somehow reshaped into something you never intended. It's not drama, it's mechanics. Early exposure changes the shape of your story. So, what do you do instead? Practice the pause. Before you speak, ask a simple question. Does this serve my mission? If the answer is yes, share with intention. If the answer is no, hold it. Let it strengthen in silence. To make the pause practical, add 2 quick checks. Is this the right time? Early stage ideas need privacy to grow. Share too soon, and you invite interference, not insight. Is this the right audience? Your inner circle gets details. Collaborators get what they need. The public gets outcomes when they're ready. Try these calm, clear lines when pressure to explain rises. I'm still shaping it. I'll share once it's solid. I'll show the results when they're ready. Happy to give context later. Right now, I'm focused on building. Notice the posture here. You're not hiding. You're directing. You're protecting the story until the story can protect itself. Because controlling the narrative doesn't mean talking more. It means speaking at the right moment, with the right level of detail, so your message lands as intended. Mini lesson: guard the release, and you guard the meaning. What you reveal, and when you reveal it, shapes how the world understands your work. Let timing be your editor. Let restraint be your leverage. And here's the best part. When you control the reveal, you also control the room. Silence builds gravity. People lean in. which leads us to a powerful practical arena where timing and restraint win consistently. Negotiation and power plays. Next, we'll explore strategic silence, how saying less at the critical moment can shift leverage to your side. 7. Strategic silence in negotiation and power plays. Silence makes people uncomfortable. Use that discomfort wisely. In high-stakes moments, most of us rush to fill the air, to clarify, to justify, to make things feel safe again. But negotiation isn't about comfort. It's about leverage. And silence, when you choose it on purpose, shifts leverage to your side. Here's the simplest technique you can practice today. State your offer. Then stop talking. Say it clean. Say it once. Then let the room breathe. Count a slow 3 in your head if you have to. Sip water. Hold steady eye contact. No nervous laughter. No backpedaling. No, and we can also add-ons. Why does this work? Because the first person to break the silence often reveals more than they meant to. They disclose priorities. They show anxiety. They lower their ask or sweeten their terms just to escape the tension. It's human. It's predictable. And if you can sit with that moment, it often pays you back. Let's make it concrete. Salary conversation. You. Based on the scope and market, I'm targeting $118,000 total comp. Stop. No resume rerun. No rapid-fire reasons. Let them move first. Client proposal. You. For delivery by the 30th, the project fee is $42,000. Stop. When they speak, you'll learn what matters. Timeline, price, scope. Now you can trade intelligently instead of negotiating against yourself. Conflict at work. You. I'm proposing we prioritize launch A over launch B this quarter. Stop. Don't keep stacking points. Let the silence flush out the real objection so you can solve the right problem. This is not about being cold. It's about being clear and letting the other side show you their hand. Watch great communicators and you'll see it. Steve Jobs used long pauses to let the vision land before revealing the next beat. Elon Musk often sits in quiet after a direct answer, inviting the next question to reveal itself. Barack Obama mastered measured pacing, pauses that gave his words gravity and guided the room's attention. Different styles, same principle. Silence as a tool. If you're new to this, here are a few cues that help. Anchor, then air. Say your number or position once. Breathe. Neutral face, relaxed shoulders. Your body says, I'm comfortable here. Short confirmations only. That's correct. Yes. I can wait. Trade, don't chase. If they counter, ask, what matters most to you here? Then trade value for value. Common mistakes to avoid. Talking yourself down. Don't discount your offer to preempt their reaction. Over-explaining. More words, less power. Filling every pause. If you sell in the silence, you'll also surrender in the silence. Remember, silence isn't the absence of strength. Silence signals strength. It says, I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to make this work on clear terms. Mini lesson. Speak your offer, then stop. Let the silence do diagnostic work for you. The first voice after your anchor gives you the map, what to protect, what to trade, and where the win lives. Use silence like a scalpel, not a hammer. Precise, intentional, clean. And here's the deeper truth. This kind of silence doesn't happen by accident. It takes training. It takes restraint. Next, we'll talk about the muscle behind it all, the discipline to stay silent, and why that discipline is real power. 8. The discipline to stay silent is real power. Silence isn't natural, it's trained. It takes strength to shut up, especially when you're excited, provoked, or hungry for approval. Most of us learn the opposite early on. We talk to release pressure. We vent to feel lighter. We post to feel seen. Speaking is easy. It gives quick relief. But it's a snack, not a meal. It satisfies for a moment and steals from the work you still need to do. Silence is different. Silence asks for discipline. It asks you to sit with your feelings instead of outsourcing them to an audience. It asks you to hold your plan steady while it's still fragile, to protect it from noise until it's strong enough to stand. That's not suppression. That's self-control, the kind that compounds into long-term success. Think about any craft worth mastering: music, sport, business. The breakthroughs don't come from constant announcements. They come from reps in the quiet, hours no one sees, choices no one praises, practice that looks boring from the outside and becomes powerful from the inside. If speaking is a release valve, silence is a pressure cooker. It concentrates your effort. It intensifies your focus. It turns scattered energy into useful heat. So how do you build this muscle in real life? 1. The 24-hour rule. When you feel the urge to share a plan, wait one day. If it still matters tomorrow, shape it privately. If it doesn't, you just saved yourself a detour. 2. Silent sprints. Work in 7 to 14-day windows with no public updates. At the end, reveal only the outcome. What shipped, what changed, what improved. 3. Headlines, not play-by-plays. If someone asks, offer one clean sentence. I'm refining something important. We'll share when it's ready. Friendly, clear, closed. 4. A private wins log. Capture your milestones in a note only you see. When you need motivation, read the evidence, not the comments. 5. Let it cook in silence. When feedback or emotion spikes, step back, breathe, walk, write. Let the heat settle before you decide what, if anything, needs to be said. You'll notice what happens next. Your tolerance for quiet grows, your attention deepens, and the work moves faster because your energy isn't leaking into explanations. Mini lesson. Not everyone can stay silent. That's why the ones who can win. They trade short-term validation for long-term momentum. They choose progress over performance. And when they finally speak, it matters, because it's backed by proof. Here's the best part. Discipline and silence gives you something priceless. Freedom. Freedom to adjust your plan without losing face. Freedom to fail privately and try again. Freedom to change direction when new information arrives. Let's build on that. If discipline creates strength, privacy creates freedom. The freedom to evolve without asking for permission. Next, privacy is freedom, the right to change without permission. 9. Privacy is freedom, the right to change without permission. When no one knows what you're doing, you're free to pivot, fail, restart. That's the quiet gift of privacy. Not hiding, not isolation. Just enough space to breathe and evolve. Here's the trap many of us fall into. We announce the plan. We post the timeline. We share the details. And the moment we do, the plan stops being ours. It belongs to expectations, other people's and our own. Suddenly, you're not building the best version anymore. You're protecting the announced version, even when new information says you should change course. Public plans feel brave, but they can become a cage. Ask anyone who's failed out loud. A public miss stings 10 times more than a private one, not because failure is fatal, but because the recovery costs more. You spend weeks managing reactions, explaining, spinning. By the time the noise dies down, your energy for iteration is gone. Privacy flips the equation. When the early stage is yours, you can experiment without the weight of an audience. You can try 3 versions in a week. You can throw away what doesn't work by Friday and start clean on Monday. No apologies. No press release. No, why did you change threads. Just learning. Fast. Focused. Quiet. Think of 2 builders. Builder A announces a new product, shares mock-ups, sets a public launch date. Halfway through, the market shifts. They should pivot. But now they're trapped by their own countdown. So they ship the wrong thing. On time. Builder B keeps the project private. They test in a small sandbox, listen hard, change fast. When the market moves, they move. No friction, no drama. They launch later. Better. Stronger. Who would you rather be? Privacy isn't about shutting people out. It's about controlling access so you can protect momentum. People who guard their private space aren't arrogant. They're strategic. They give themselves room to be messy in the middle so they can be clean at the end. Here are a few simple ways to build that room. Quiet season. Work in private 30 to 60-day cycles. No public updates. At the end, share outcomes only. Silent betas. Test with 5 trusted users, not 500 curious followers. Pivot permission. Write this sentence where you can see it. I reserve the right to get smarter and change direction. Boundary lines. When asked for details, offer a calm headline. I'm exploring a few options. I'll share what's real when it's ready. Notice how different that feels. You're not lying. You're leading. Your time, your attention, your future. And here's the deeper comparison. People who live publicly all the time get graded in real time, on half-finished work. That pressure bends decisions. It punishes curiosity. People who live selectively private keep their courage. They can try, fail, learn, and try again without the crowd's hand on the wheel. Mini lesson. You don't need to live like a reality show. You need space to evolve. Privacy gives you that space. The room to change your mind without asking for permission. The room to get it wrong quietly so you can get it right completely. And when you do step into the light, when you finally share, what you show is solid. Not performance. Proof. Now that you've reclaimed your space, there's one more shift that amplifies everything. Speaking less, while showing up with presence that fills the room. Next, become a man of few words and infinite presence. 10. Become a man of few words and infinite presence. In a loud world, presence is more powerful than noise. You've met this person before. He walks into a room and doesn't rush to speak. He listens. He looks. He settles. And somehow, the room adjusts to him. That's not an accident. That's practiced stillness, body language, eye contact, and a quiet confidence working together. Picture a scene you've seen 100 times in film. A tense room, voices layered on top of each other. Then a character steps in and says nothing. He stands tall, shoulders relaxed, chin neutral. He scans the table once, then holds a calm gaze. The talking fades, not because he demanded it, but because his presence did. Words can push. Presence pulls. Let's make this real and practical. Posture. Open chest, grounded feet, relaxed shoulders. Think tall and settled, not stiff and soldier-like. Presence starts in your spine. Breath. Slow it down. In for 4, hold for 2, out for 6. A steady breath tells your nervous system, we're safe. And when your body believes that, everyone around you starts to believe it too. Eyes. Use soft, steady eye contact. Land your gaze for 2 seconds, then release. This reads as composed, not confrontational. Hands. Rest them loosely on the table or steeple lightly. No fidgeting. No pen clicks. No pocket padding. Still hands signal still mind. Pace. Move 20% slower than you think you should. When you reach for a glass, when you open a notebook, when you stand, slower is stronger. Voice, when you do speak. Give your first sentence a 2-beat pause beforehand. Let silence frame your words. Speak shorter lines. End them clean. No trailing filler. No nervous laugh. Here's the daily training that builds this skill. The 60-second stillness drill. Sit upright. Breathe slow. Hands quiet. Gaze soft. 1 minute. No phone. No words. Just presence. The doorway reset. Before you enter a meeting or a room, stop at the door. 1 breath in, 1 breath out. Shoulders down. Face relaxed. Then walk. The 2-second rule. When asked a question, pause for 2. Look, breathe, then answer. Your words will land heavier. The observation round. In group settings, say nothing for the first 3 minutes. Watch the dynamics. Learn who interrupts, who decides, who doubts. When you finally speak, you'll be precise. Common mistakes to avoid. Filling quiet with chatter to prove you belong. Rising at the end of sentences. Upspeak, which asks for permission. Shrinking your frame, hunched shoulders, folded arms, hidden hands. Performing stoicism, stiff, cold, or distant. Presence is open and calm, not icy. Here's the shift that matters. You don't earn presence by speaking more. You earn it by meaning more, with fewer words. When you are silent but steady, the world pays attention. Not because you raised your volume, but because you raised your signal. Mini lesson. You don't have to shout. You don't have to dominate. Be there, fully, before you say a single word. When your body is calm and your eyes are clear, your silence becomes authority. And when you finally choose to speak, your words arrive with weight you didn't have to beg for. You've learned the leverage of silence, the magnetism of mystery, the freedom of privacy, and the gravity of presence. Now let's stitch it all together. A simple, quiet code you can live by starting today, so your work speaks for you long after the noise fades. Take a breath. We've walked a quiet road together. Silence as strength, not weakness. Mystery that draws people in. Execution over announcements. Emotional energy guarded like gold. Results as the loudest voice. Control of the narrative by timing what you reveal. Strategic silence in negotiation and high-stakes rooms. Discipline to stay silent when it counts. Privacy as the freedom to change without permission. Presence that speaks before your words do. This isn't about hiding. It's about owning your pace, your story, your life. How to apply this? Starting now, to night 1. Choose one project to take offline for 14 days. No updates. Build quietly. 2. Set your circles. Inner, working, public. Decide who gets details and who gets headlines. 3. Write one boundary line you'll use this week. I'm shaping it. I'll share when it's solid. Tomorrow. 4. Practice the 2-second pause before answering any important question. 5. Do the 60-second stillness drill. Sit upright. Breathe slow. Hands quiet. Eyes soft. Presence on purpose. This week, no. Replace a promise with a proof. Ship one small, finished outcome. 7. Log private wins. For you, not the crowd. A few questions to take with you. Where am I oversharing because I want reassurance? Who has access to my plans that hasn't earned it? Where has talk replaced execution? And what's one action I can take today? Let the answers be honest. Let them be yours. The quiet truth. You don't owe the world constant access to your life. You owe yourself the space to become, without the noise, without the pressure, without the play-by-play. When you guard your energy, when you speak less and deliver more, when you show up with presence, the room changes. Not because you shouted, but because you meant it. If this resonated, subscribe and share this with someone who needs a calmer, stronger way to win. Drop a comment with the words "Quiet Power" and tell me one thing you're keeping private for the next 30 days. Your next chapter starts in silence. What's next? Don't miss it. In the next episode, we'll build the Quiet Playbook, step-by-step scripts for negotiations, the privacy circles in action, and a 2-week silent sprint to turn ideas into proof. Until then, move in silence. Let your results speak. And I'll see you in the next one.